Like most anxiety and panic attack sufferers, you're probably feeling lost, desperate, and more scared than ever before. Whether you experience panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, agoraphobia or any phobia, post-traumatic stress disorder, social anxiety or generalised anxiety, I assure you that by understanding the advice presented in this programme, you'll be able to see that your anxiety is not at all what you think it is, and that you can disarm it completely, and that you will reclaim your life. Before you watch this DVD, I want you to know that I'm not academic, at least not in psychology. I've never professed to be. I don't hold a string of medical qualifications, and of that I'm glad. Medical qualifications mean that the practitioner is, on the whole, restrained by the discoveries and solutions of other people, and that these solutions are restricted by the structure of prescriptive and psychological practices, such as psychology sessions, prescription medicine, or psychiatry. I won't and don't advocate the use of drugs, and my solution is far removed from psychological practices. It's simpler and much, much faster, if done correctly. I know what it feels like to be robbed of potential. I know what it feels like to be scared all the time. And I know what it feels like to live in hope that one day I'll be free of my anxiety and all of its devastating symptoms. Unlike most experts, I'm an authority on anxiety partly because of the years I spent sharing my life with it, actually over a quarter of a century. This picture was taken during my anxiety and panic disorder years. I suffered massive panic attacks, about 10 a day, as well as acute generalised anxiety disorder and severe and crippling phobias, agoraphobia and social anxiety disorder. I also experienced depersonalisation, derealisation and frightening feelings of sadness and depression. Anxiety and panic attacks ruled my life. So I know what you're going through. There isn't a single physical sensation, not a symptom, not an emotion, that I haven't experienced during these years. There seemed to be no hope of recovery for me. I tried cognitive and alternative therapies, hypnosis, meditation, anxiety disorder diets, anxiety disorder groups, anxiety disorder medication, stress management, and more, but nothing worked. Believe me when I tell you that I know exactly how you're feeling. I know that anxiety, obsession, panic attacks and phobias can be hell. But ultimately, some good has come of everything. Namely, it's given me the chance to develop my method, a method not based on prescription drugs or convoluted theory or the latest hype, but a method based on true life experience, reverse engineered from the solution and used by thousands of recovered sufferers. And it truly works. My wife persuaded me to write the Linda Method, and I'm so glad that she did. I became so sick of hearing the horror stories of how fellow anxiety and panic attack sufferers have been treated by medics. But now there's hope. Let me prove it to you, as I've done already tens of thousands of times worldwide. But what makes me so qualified? Well, as I've just said, I've been where you are right now, and through scientifically reverse engineering the solution, I've identified the cure and developed a structured program of recovery that has been used to eliminate anxiety disorders in tens of thousands of sufferers from across the world. I've heard every story. Trust me, there's nothing I haven't heard. From sensations to thoughts, I'd be shocked if there was something that I haven't come across. And today, here I am, a recovered anxiety, phobias and panic attack sufferer. So who is Charles Linden? I run a private practice treating anxiety disorders using the Linden method. I'm married to Beth, the angel that tolerated me through a decade of anxiety, panic attacks and phobias, through all the irritability, confusion and depression. I have a son called Charlie and a daughter named Florence, the family I thought I would never have. And it's because of this gift, this second chance at enjoying a full and fulfilling life, that I want to share my method with you. Now you simply have to ask yourself what you want out of life. What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to be in 4 weeks from now, 12 weeks, 12 months? Determine what you want, all that you want to stop, and all that you want to start. And then believe that you have the ability to stop your condition in its tracks. Start your life afresh with a blank sheet, without worrying about lost time, but simply looking forward to what is yet to come. Stop self-obsessing about what's wrong with you. Start looking at all the positive and all that's good in your life. Stop feeling anxious, living your life in fear, and waking up with that feeling of dread. Start looking forward and making plans for your future. Stop feeling physically drained Start to feel strong in body and mind, as though you're 10 years younger. Stop living defensively, frightened of putting your head above the parapet, and start enjoying life again. Anxiety should be an integral part of our normal lives, protecting us when confronted with real danger. But sometimes the thermostat, which regulates anxiety levels in the body, becomes reset, creating constant anxiety. This constant anxious state can cause many symptoms, which cause us to become fearful, seek medical help, and retreat from society. I'm about to reveal to you the truth. I'll tell you why the anxiety disorder myth can be ignored and how, with specific targeted guidance, you can remove your inappropriate anxiety forever. Whatever form your inappropriate anxiety takes, the fact is you have what most people would call an anxiety disorder. Personally, I don't believe that inappropriate anxiety is a disorder. The word disorder suggests illness. You're not ill. Your anxiety has become reset at a higher than normal level, in the same way that you might exercise in order to make your body tolerate more exercise. Many anxiety sufferers experience what is called comorbidity. In other words, 2 or more anxiety disorders simultaneously. They may experience GAD with phobias, panic attacks or compulsions, for example. In fact, this is quite normal. As there are no lines of separation between the disorders, the anxiety spectrum is wide, stretching from mild shyness to extreme panic. And it doesn't matter where you fall on that spectrum, you have inappropriate anxiety that requires removal. The symptoms of anxiety vary in severity from one individual to another and can come and go at different times, both day and night. In fact, many of my clients have told me that they wake up panicking or feel like they have panicked during their sleep when they wake in the morning. I had nighttime panic, or sleep panic as I call it. It leaves you feeling tired, achy and shaky, and it happens at a time when conscious thought should be switched off. It just shows that the subconscious mind can create anxiety even when you're asleep. This proves 100% that your anxiety is programmed into your subconscious, and it will happen whether you think about it or not, until you understand what it is and how to disarm it. The symptoms vary in severity from one individual to another and can come and go at different times, day and night. The most common physical symptoms include feeling like you're constantly fluey, weak, dizzy, sweaty, clammy and achy. You may have palpitations, a churning stomach and a sense of being smothered. You may suffer with general fatigue, muscle aches such as chest pain, headaches, tightness, tingling and numbness. And you may also experience mental distress with depression, mood swings or disturbing thoughts, even of a violent or sexual nature. You may well worry about your health and feel that you're suffering from life-threatening conditions, and you might also visit your general practitioner or other medical practitioners regularly in order to receive assurances about your health. All of this is the normal, expected behaviour of a person with anxiety disorder. It's the way each and every one of my clients behave, and that's tens of thousands of people from every walk of life, from every corner of the world. Many of these symptoms can be explained easily, but I prefer to call them sensations, not symptoms. The word symptom is used to describe what we experience during illness. Inappropriate anxiety isn't an illness, so we can't experience symptoms. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yes, you heard me correctly. Your anxiety condition is not a disorder, and it's not an illness. There is nothing medically wrong with you. Nothing which requires psychiatric or medicinal treatment. You have a behavioural condition, a condition caused not by the stress, bereavement or whatever the catalyst was for your initial anxiety, but by a learning process that has happened deep inside your physical brain. But more about that later. Now, the most important thing to remember is that no one has ever died of anxiety. So those chest pains are muscular or digestive. They are not a sign of a life-threatening heart condition. The thoughts you have aren't because you're slipping into insanity. Actually, it's quite the opposite. You have fine-tuned your creative mind so well that when it picks up an idea, it flies with it, taking your thoughts and inventing clever, sometimes disturbing, but highly imaginative scenarios. It's a completely normal process, but in anxiety disorders, it's accentuated. You can't die of anxiety. Why? Because anxiety produces sensations, nothing more. These sensations aren't the signs of physical illness or of danger. They are just nerve impulses. A sensation has never harmed anyone. What's happened is that your brain has been put on alert. It's been retuned to a heightened level of anxiety, leaving the sufferer prone to all these chronic, debilitating symptoms, thoughts and sensations that should warn you of impending danger. But in anxiety disorder, the danger isn't really there. But unfortunately, the sensations are. What you need to do now is break this cycle. You need to reset your brain to a normal level of anxiety.
Traditionally, anxiety is dealt with using psychiatry, counselling and medication. But if these methods consistently eradicated anxiety, surely anxiety would not be so prevalent as it is today. Therefore, there is a real need to tackle anxiety in a different way, and the Linden method successfully does this in a simple, yet very effective manner. To think anxiety can be eliminated quickly and simply often confuses anxiety sufferers, as they have perceived anxiety as just something that has to be coped with, or something that will take many years to get over, if ever. I am personally going to challenge this belief. Many people believe anxiety and panic disorder as being something they're predisposed to and within the family, having seen members of their family suffering too. When we perceive anxiety as such, this belief makes us feel as though we're not in control, and therefore there is a general acceptance that this is who I am. There is another explanation, and this is that anxiety is a habit of behaviour that has been seen or experienced, learned and repeated. This is much like when we are being taught a new skill, such as playing tennis or a musical instrument. The more we see it being played and the more we watch, the more we repeat their techniques, the quicker we learn and the more ingrained the habit becomes. If anxiety is therefore a habit of behaviour, the only way out of this habit is to change our behaviour. In my opinion and experience, GAD, OCD, panic disorders and phobias are all part of the same condition and can all be treated successfully by implementing the Linden method.
So what was my discovery? Okay, listen carefully. Here's the science bit. Every single anxiety disorder, panic attacks, phobia, OCD and PTSD sufferer has a condition that is caused and perpetuated by the exact same thing, the amygdala. The amygdala is a small almond-shaped organ in the brain and is part of the limbic system. The amygdala is a pair of small organs in the brain, each about the size of an almond. The amygdala acts like a thermostat, regulating amongst other things our normal baseline anxiety level. As anxiety levels rise in response to stressors such as bereavement, work stress or money worries for example, the amygdala's needle is pushed up to the high anxiety zone. Under normal circumstances, this needle returns to normal after the event. When the stress or anxiety you experience is relentless, the needle gets stuck at the high anxiety position. It becomes instinctual. The subconscious mind, which controls all the automatic bodily symptoms, thinks that this new level of anxiety is appropriate and normal. You know consciously that it's not. It's as if the hard drive of your mind has been reprogrammed with new, anxious software. With this new anxiety level come sensations and symptoms of anxiety disorder and maybe panic attacks, phobias and disturbing thoughts. So in order to reverse these changes, you have to reprogram your amygdala. Because the amygdala only responds to direct input, you require a method which addresses the amygdala directly, eliminating the anxious behaviour and replacing it with non-anxious behaviour. The Linden method does exactly that. It shows you exactly what you need to do today to remove the inappropriate anxious response tomorrow. And it can be that fast. Once your subconscious has this new set of rules, it can't turn back. And the fact that the amygdala is integral in controlling anxiety levels is common knowledge amongst scientists world over. And this is confirmed by mental health practitioners, psychophysiologists, neurologists and psychiatrists. No matter how bad your symptoms are, no matter how long you've had anxiety, and no matter how terrifying your panic attacks are, this tiny organ is 100% responsible. The amygdala is the cause of your anxiety disorder, panic attacks, and your phobias. Stress, bereavement, and life circumstances are just the triggers or catalysts of the anxiety. The amygdala is the cause. Please understand this. Anxiety disorder and panic attacks are not mental illnesses. They are behavioural conditions caused by a tiny change in the way the brain handles anxiety symptoms from the sensory organs. The anxiety switch, the amygdala, is either anxiety on or anxiety off. When the switch is anxiety off, it can only be activated by real danger. But when it becomes stuck on, it can produce anxiety disorder symptoms, panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and phobias, even when real danger isn't present. So it produces the symptoms of fear even when nothing exists to be frightened of. The symptoms of anxiety disorder are so real and so frightening that they can cause us to become scared and wrought with anxiety and panic attacks. But the truth is, your symptoms, sensations and fears are based on false fear, the sensation of fear. How crazy is that? If a dog bit your leg, you'd feel pain, and you know that the pain is real because you saw the dog bite you. But if you get a sensation of pain in your leg, when you're sitting watching TV, for example, you know that nothing has caused it, so your concern about the source of the pain is intensified. The exact same thing happens with anxiety symptoms. We experience anxiety when it isn't required. The sensations and symptoms scare us, we become more fearful, this produces more symptoms, and so on. But all of this is caused by false fear. Fake fear, nothing more. Doesn't that make perfect sense? So what are you frightened of? The amygdala has become reset at a higher resting level of anxiety, and it is this that causes your condition, whether that be generalised anxiety disorder, panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, or phobias. This reset happens through a process called operant conditioning. It's the same process that happens when you learn new activities, like driving or playing an instrument. It's learning through repetition. You might have heard of Pavlov's dogs. Pavlov was a scientist who discovered that by ringing a bell shortly before he fed his dogs, he could train the dogs to salivate at any time just by ringing the bell. In effect, what he'd done is condition the dogs, retraining their subconscious mind to react to a trigger, the bell. The exact same thing happens in anxiety disorders. You have learned to react with inappropriate levels of anxiety when confronted with things that simply aren't anxiety-provoking. And all this has happened subconsciously in the amygdala. This is why the slightest anxious thought or sensation sends you into anxiety or panic attacks mode. It's why you don't cope with normal situations like you used to. It's why you have constant anxiety disorder symptoms, panic attacks, strange thoughts, pains, sensations, insomnia, phobias and emotions. So by reversing the changes that have been made in the amygdala by your anxiety disorder, you can permanently eliminate your inappropriate anxiety, compulsions, panic attacks and phobias. Fact. Tens of thousands of my former clients stand as testament to this. This isn't some kind of psychological theory, it's time-tested evidence based on a practical solution. A solution that works. Why does it work? Because it's the solution. Not a solution, the solution. It's what every recovered anxiety sufferer has done to eliminate their anxiety. They may not be aware of it, but they have. Medical science focuses on the physical aspects of anxiety disorder and panic attacks, developing drug treatment to counteract brain chemical imbalances and symptoms. But in anxiety disorder, social anxiety, phobias, panic attacks, OCD or PTSD, the reactions that happen and the chemicals that are present in the brain during anxiety aren't wrong, they just occur inappropriately. Anxiety disorders and panic attacks aren't caused by chemical imbalances. They can cause them, but they aren't caused by them. Being anxiety-free is already programmed into you. All you have to do is the legwork in order to access that behaviour and flick the switch back to anxiety off. You've practiced anxiety for so long now that your mind thinks it's reacting normally, even though you know consciously that you're not. I know it seems hard to believe, but I was where you are now. My anxiety, panic attacks, phobias and obsessions were out of control. I was room-bound, frightened, filled to the brim with drugs like Prozac, diazepam, Seroxat and other old-school antidepressants. As with all sufferers, they didn't help. They just masked some symptoms and caused others. I was pushed from pillar to post. I had test after test, saw psychologists, psychiatrists, immunologists and other conventional practitioners. And did they help? No, of course not. And why? Because there's only one person who can help you. You. But don't feel defeated by your condition. Take it by the reins right now. I reverse engineered the solution from information gleaned from hundreds of other sufferers. I implemented it myself and never panicked again. Okay, I still felt anxious, but I knew what it was, that it couldn't harm me, that I could defeat it, and I also knew how to defeat it. You can and will be anxiety free again, that I promise you. And if you decide to join the Linden method, you do so without any risk, as the Linden method carries a money-back guarantee. You now know that anxiety, OCD, panic attacks and phobias are the creation of an anxious mind. You also know that the symptoms and sensations can't harm you. If you decide to carry on restricting your life because you fear sensations, you will continue to be anxious. The choice is yours to make. Wake up tomorrow invigorated and challenged by the excitement of your life and all the things you still have to do with it. Don't allow your anxiety to determine what you achieve. Anxiety is nothing. You, your life, your family are your focus, not this pointless condition.